Here's Nicole Shanahan warning the senators who are beating up on RFKJ today.
In 2020, I cut large checks to Chuck Schumer to help Democrats flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia from red to blue. The 2 candidates I helped elect, Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator John Ossoff. Please know I will be watching your votes very closely. I will make it my personal mission that you lose your seats in the Senate if you vote against the future health of America's children. And more than that, I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto, this is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. You're either on the side of transparency and accountability, or you are standing in the way. The choice is yours. Please choose wisely.
Yeah, that's what we call in the business a threat. And that's a political threat, not a physical one, but that is a clear threat to say, well, she's not trying to hide it. It's Nicole Shanahan. Megyn Kelly is going to react to this on, of course, the Megyn Kelly show. Megyn Kelly's been doing a lot of coverage here from us from the standpoint of translating what Trump is doing to a female view audience. So keep that in mind as we watch this. The View, Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly is basically doing the segments she would do, the little bits she would do if she were a guest on The View, or if she were the Republican, or, you know, they always have the conservative or whatever on The View, the one token. If Megyn Kelly was the token, this is what she would do. That's basically what the Megyn Kelly show is. It's targeted towards women. It's a great show. Let's get back to this clip here, see what she's doing. She's going to talk about RFK. So we have Megyn Kelly, RFK, Nicole Shanahan, and The View.
Right on, Nicole. So his response was, she's literally so hot. Who knew? Cannot imagine a senator being intimidated by this bird. That is the perfect tweet. That is leftism in a nutshell, right? Like, if Tucker Carlson ever remarked on how hot Nicole Shanahan is, he'd be getting called a sexist pig by everyone over on Jack Schlossberg's side of the aisle. So he puts it in there. Why? To diminish her. He's actually using it to diminish her down to her appearance, as we see with the follow-up line, which shows he is not her fan. Cannot imagine a senator being intimidated by this bird. This bird, what, like this little breakable, sad, weak little thing who's scary to no one, right? So it's like, try to knock her down by reducing her just to her looks, then insult her as a weakling who no one is afraid of. This is the party that is pro-woman, right? Not Trump.
Just to be clear, I use the same tactics. I'll be perfectly fine admitting that. But my take is I don't think women should be in the political realm. Megyn Kelly is unique. Kim Iverson, Jen Perlman, Sabby Sabs, Sandra McDonald, crazy village lady. Now there's so many. That girl Casey, of course. So don't get me wrong, but that's not the rule. Those are the exception. Kathy Barnett. There's a lot of women I respect highly, but I will talk about their looks in a way of kind of chopping them down a little bit. But I do that with everybody, male or female, if I feel like they need to. Let's get back to the clip. Megyn Kelly coming with the female perspective. I really do value Megyn Kelly's point here, going at the senators who might not confirm RFKJ.
Not RFKJ, because he flew the coop to stay on the bird motif. It's perfectly on brand.
Absolutely. But this is what being a Democrat is about. If you look at Jack Schlossberg, he got to go on stage and speak at the DNC. Bill Clinton, he's been terrible. He's the patriarch of that party. He got to speak at the DNC. Kamala Harris, she's a disaster. She got to be the candidate. So the Democrats, it's always the rules for thee, not for me. Yeah, Doug Emhoff as well. It's the rules for thee, not for me. So if a Republican went out there and said someone was hot or sexy, like you said, they would be called a sexist pig. But Nicole Shanahan, she's a much more formidable force than I think people realize. I was one of the first people who got to meet her on the campaign. I was on the VP committee, which I was grateful to be a part of. And Nicole's a very formidable person. I think she's been written off, but she has a lot in store for the future.
So this also happened on The View today, where Joy Behar referred to the new press secretary, Caroline Levitt, who did an amazing job this week. She's green and she's young, but she's very strong, and she's going to get even better. This is why she thinks Trump chose her. Listen.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear.
So that's why he chose Caroline Levitt. According to
Caroline Levitt is unique, and she's done a great job as press secretary. So I'm not saying this to put her down after I just said I talk about looks, to kind of put women down a little bit if I need to put them in their place. But she is I think she's 27. She's younger. She's weird because she looks, I think she's 27. She looks like a hot 50-year-old, but not hot for a 27-year-old, if I'm just being honest. Jim Rohn, one of my favorite hosts, used to say, looks are not fodder for content on the show. It was a trash talking show, and he still does it, the Jungle. And he was just kind of joking because looks always came up on the show. I don't know if I'll be able to live up to that.
To the tolerant left because of her looks. And I posted this out online. It's an attempt to diminish her. You know, she's nothing more than a pretty face. She can't be taken seriously. But I think you made this point on my show, like, let's face it, we really are making America hot again. Like this.
Right. I said, we're about
Trump
to have the hottest cabinet.
And let's face it, Republicans in general these days, like that New York Magazine cover, I don't know. I just feel like Republicans are all about these days making an effort, pulling yourself together, presenting yourself well. You know, there is an unusual percentage of good-looking people who support Donald Trump. I don't know what it is. And then on the left, you have these lunatics shaving their heads, wearing their blue bracelets, having their enormous reading glasses everywhere. Like, it's not a good look. It's not something young people are going to want to be associated with. And back to the original point, Joy Behar would be ripping on Jesse Waters if he said the only reason Joe Biden selected somebody was because she was a 10, though I can't think of anybody in his cabinet who'd come to. Anyway, whatever.
Okay, but if you're going to bring up how hot they are and good looking, and I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that, then it goes both ways. So there, at the end of the day for this one, it's a funny segment. Megyn Kelly actually opened the door for this banter. But let me go back real quick to the RFKJ. That's really the big takeaway from this. I mean, we're just talking about looks a little bit, just joking. Nothing serious there. That's not substance. But let's go to the substance of what happened to Bird. This is my takeaway from this. If you're on the left here and you're still watching the channel, I appreciate you giving a bro a chance. I'm just a brother in his basement. Literally. Have a camera, have a computer, and we can talk. And Chief Nerd talked about this. So Chief Nerd played a clip of Brett Weinstein talking about Bernie Sanders and what he saw when he was there. And what he saw there wasn't good. And Brett wouldn't lie about this. He's telling you what he saw. I know he's biased about RFK, but I think Brett would like Bernie if Bernie was real. I like Bernie if Bernie's real, but it turns out he's not.
I guess the question is, maybe magic shows the right analogy, but are the senators magicians or are they props?
They're liars and actors. And
yes.
I would call them magicians. They're fully in control of their performances. Here, let me tell you what I saw with just Bernie Sanders. I was sitting 5 feet to the left of RFK in the very front row. In other words, I was sharing his.
I apologize. It wasn't Brett Weinstein there. It was who is this? Walter Kern was there. Let's get back to the clip.
Perspective as closely as you can, visually in every sensory way. Okay, I could see his heels tapping under the table as he, anxiously awaited his turn to answer ridiculous charges and lies and, sort of tangles of insinuation that I wouldn't have been prepared for at all. And I don't know that he was. Bernie Sanders. I watched the guy the whole time because he was a presidential candidate once. He was the populist left's, harbinger of change that never came. He always seemed to duck out the side door and let the main act go on just at the point where you'd think he might fight. But, that's just cowardice or something. But here I got to see him up close. And I had some respect for the guy, or residual respect, or at least family members who liked him and colleagues who liked him had convinced me there was something there. Based on what I saw, which is all I could report, there is nothing there but a complete fabrication of attitudes. It is Bernie Sanders as the red diaper socialist, starring Bernard Sanders. Here's the deal. He came in, and you see, one way in which it's a magic show is you only get to see on TV, especially. And remember, this was a produced for TV event, because no matter who was in the room, they were dwarfed by the audience outside the room, okay? I knew that because at certain times I wandered into the shot of the family, the Kennedy family, because I was sitting next to them. And the person who called the Sherpa, who helps the nominee through the Senate processes, warned me, not to get in that shot. Well, what Bernie was doing when the shot wasn't on him was not listening at all. Okay. Not even looking at all, not even doing anything but talking to whoever was delivering pieces of paper to him from behind his back. He had no interest in Kennedy. He had no interest in the themes of the hearing. When Kennedy had said, "Oh, we now spend $4 trillion on chronic disease," when in my uncle's day, JFK's, we spent zero. I doubt Bernie even heard the comment. Maybe he has a copy of that opening statement, but I doubt he'd read it. He was completely preoccupied with other things. Nothing that was going on there. Oh, but then when the cameras switched to him, you'd think that he was fixed like an eagle on the whole thing and was just waiting to come in. No, he was waiting his turn to do his act in the same way the guy who, tap dances waits behind the fat lady. And until the fat lady's done, all he's doing is looking at his nails. And when it's his turn to tap dance, though, he comes in, and that was what he did. And he thundered. He must have a hearing problem because he was twice the volume of anybody else. And he thundered at the guy. And it was astonishing because it was transparently at every turn in the service of pharma interests. And the idea that this guy had ever fooled anyone as a, man of the people was absolutely shocking to me. And the intensity that they bring to it. And when they ramp up from 0 to 10 on cue, and if you've ever been on a movie set like I have and seen your own work filmed and so on, you know what you're watching. It's acting. There's no other word for it. You don't go from like talking to somebody over your shoulder and getting a little document put in front of you to full on, you're going to destroy America in 5 seconds in any organic way. That's just what it is. Now, whether it's acting in the service of something larger, we might debate, but that's what it is. But then you watch Kennedy, who's not doing magic, who's there in the most earnest mission of his life. The result of daily prayer about the welfare of America's children, trying to not be rattled, drawn in, or become false himself. And that was the battle I saw. Not to, in a way, betray himself and become a character the way they were all characters.
What a recounting of the story there by Walter Kern. I'll end with this on the commentary. You might have seen Bernie Sanders was bringing up RFKJ's work with the Children's Health Defense, talking about babies' onesies that got sold out. These onesies were anti the jab, or basically jabs in general. And Bernie Sanders is now a big pharma shill. But people took a look at the finances, and all you have to do is follow the money. That's why people had jokes of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren was doing the same act. They're supposed to be on the left, like for the people, and it turns out they're for the big corporations. People went and looked at the money. Elizabeth Warren, since 1990 to 2024, took from Big Pharma 10.4, almost $10.5 million. And Bernie Sanders, almost 23.2 million from Big Pharma. So I guess his stance as a populist, anti-corporate dude is, I think those bona fides are done.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.